Alright, hi guys. Today I'm gonna show you a rifle. It's an Italian made rifle. It was made in 1939. I'm pretty sure they only made them for 1939. What it's called is, I'm probably gonna butcher this pronunciation, but Fucile Corto, which means short rifle. They were produced at the Terni arsenal in 1939. The Italians were using the 6.5 by 52 millimeter cartridge, and that had some drawbacks in hitting power at distance, so they came up with this 7.35 by 5.1 millimeter Carcano cartridge, and they used that because it was a little bit bigger and had more stopping power. So they came up with that in like 1938, started making these in 1939, and then World War II broke out for the Italians, I think, in 1940, and they didn't have anything in place to mass produce these. So they just went right back to the 6.5 millimeter guns and stopped making these. And what they did with the ones that they had made is they gave some to the local contingency guys in Italy, and gave them to the Finns, to the Finnish. And this is one that was given to the Finnish, and usually those ones that were given to the Finnish don't have matching serial numbers because they would take them apart and mess with them, change them up a little bit, and most of the time rebarrel them for a different caliber. This one was kept in the 7.35 caliber or millimeter, and all the serial numbers match on it. I mean, there's only a couple serial numbers on it. There's one on the receiver and there's one on the stock. And this is one of the ones that has fixed sights in the back, and I think they're set for 200 meters. And yeah, it's all original, and it's in a very good condition. I'll show you guys some close-ups on this, and I'll take it all apart just so you can see how that comes apart. Alright guys, I'm going to show you how the safety works when it's cocked. Just like this, there's this little lever here. You can see it's got a lot of grip on there. It's really sharp actually. And you're just going to want to push it forward to the top, let it slide back. Then the bolt won't open, it won't shoot, won't fire. To get the safety off, you just push it forward and down to the side, and then when you pull the trigger, it'll fire. It's got a very light trigger pull, and when you load it to top loader, use a stripper clip, just like this one, and you would have 6 rounds in here. You'd top load it in here just like that, push it down in there till it locks, and when your last round chambers, the stripper clip actually drops out of the bottom. You can see here there's a hole in the bottom. The stripper clip will just fall right out, just like that. So you know that when it falls out, you only have 1 round left in your chamber. So then you know that as soon as you bring it back after that round, you're going to have to reload it. Now there's a little button in the trigger guard. You can see this little button right here. See if I can get it in the light. Good. And that little, there we go. this little button here, you know, you can push it forward with your trigger finger, and what that will do is if you say load this whole thing up, but then you want to empty it, inside here, if you can see down in there, see that piece moving? There's a little hook right there that hooks onto this bar. Now that'll hold it down in there. Now let's say you want to empty the gun because it doesn't open up at the bottom. I mean, it does look like it opens up, but there's a cross piece right here, so the bullets wouldn't be able to come through. You just hit that button, and that releases the stripper clip, and this pops up. Then you can pull it out, and you can close on an empty chamber. That way you can unload the gun whenever you want. Now in the butt here, you can see there's this little trap door. I don't know if I can pry it out with my fingernail. Nope. This would open up, and normally there would be a cleaning rod in there, but like almost every other one you'll ever find of these guns, it's missing. So, but that was pretty cool. Put it in there, but it was easy to lose because this would come open while you're running through the bush or something, and it would just fall out and you wouldn't even notice it. Alright guys, now we're going to take this rifle apart. I'm sorry you can't see the whole thing in the screen right now, but I'll move it around so that you'll be able to see it. This is going to be a little difficult too because I'm having to reach around the camera too, so all you're going to need is a screwdriver. I just use one of these. It's, you know, off my Mosin Nagant. Where you're going to want to start, if you have a sling on yours, is back here. You're going to want to take this little bar off of the butt. Alright, I got those screws off. You can see there's just a little cross bar in there. You might be able to pull that out. What this is just a little barbell looking thing with two recessed areas for the heads of the screws, and it's got this metal pipe on here that'll roll supposedly so that you can pull this in and out, but this cut right here is exactly the width of this, so you can't pull it out without taking this off. So take that apart, keep all your parts together so you don't lose them. Now you're going to go up to the front and you're going to flip it over onto the other side where the sling attaches in the front. You're going to remove this screw. See if I can do this here without knocking the camera over. So you loosen that screw, then you can just unscrew the sling attachment. In the bottom of the sling attachment there are threads, so the screw goes right through the stock and into the sling attachment. So I just attach it back to the sling attachment here so that I don't lose it. Put the sling over there. Now the next step, you would think, would be to just pull this off, but it won't go over this piece right here. So you've got to remove this metal butt piece right here. There's just two screws. Loosen those up. And you just pull these out. Make sure don't mix these screws up. You got to take a lot of screws out and they all kind of look the same. Then you can just pull this plate off of here. There's the front plate. Put that with the two screws that you took out of it. It's just easier that way. Then to get this and this top piece off, you have to slide the whole thing, the piece of wood with the ring, right off of here and off. And in this one, I don't know if it'll be like this in all of them. When you take this part off, there's this little tiny delicate piece of veneer that they used for a spacer, so you're going to want to be careful with that. Put that ring up there and this top grip. Then to remove the bolt, it's just like pretty much every other bolt action rifle. Pull it back, pull the trigger, slide the bolt off. Now to get this bolt apart, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab this back piece, you're going to want to pull it back and spin it down into that little groove. And then right here, I'll get a close up. You can see right here there's this little button. See if I can get it here in the light. You see this button moves. It's kind of like the muzzle on a tip of an AK-47. You're going to push that down while you unscrew that. You can see that it unscrews and it'll fall back in there. Push it down again. You're going to unscrew this cap. Don't worry, nothing's going to come flying out of here. Take this cap off, the rear cap. Then you're going to want to take this piece and it slides right off of here. That piece slides right off, and if you look in there, you can kind of see that flat spot down in there. If you look on the firing pin, it's flat on one side, so remember that when you're putting this back together. So you just pulled this piece out. Then you're going to take your safety. You can see that there's a little nubby on the safety. It's down in here. You're going to want to move it up and around, and about halfway through, see if I can get a shot of that in there. You can kind of see there's a groove on the side wall right here, right about there, that's going to want to go into. Otherwise it's going to go right up to the top. So you spin this, you see that? See if I can get it in the light here. It's under a lot of tension. Go around, up, and you're going to want to turn it to that way. It's going to come up through there. You see that? Now stuff could come out. You got to pull it out slowly. There's your safety. Put that aside. You can pull your recoil spring out, or your I don't know, your firing pin spring or whatever it is. Here's your firing pin, and that is pretty much taken apart. You can get your extractor off, but I'm not quite sure how. Alright, now you're going to take the rifle, you're going to flip it over, and there's these two screws, one here, one here. You're going to remove those. Okay, now once you've got those two screws removed, you can pull your magazine out and your trigger guard. And this is it. Here's your little mechanism for catching the stripper clips. There's your magazine spring. It's pretty tough. That thing's gonna shove them rounds in there. And that comes out just like that. Then your receiver and your barrel will come out from the wood. Now I'm going to switch to a closer view so you can see this trigger mechanism. Alright, now here's your trigger mechanism here. You're going to flip it over on this side. You're going to see there's a pin right here. Goes right through to there. You can see there's a little groove right there so you can get something underneath the head right there. You're going to want to hold this all down so it doesn't come off flying across the room. You're going to pull this little pin out. There it is, little skinny pin. Then you can slowly let this off tension, and you can pull your trigger right out. This little piece was in there, hooked onto this little wheel there, and there's your trigger mechanism right out, spring, so you can get all this stuff apart and clean it. You can see it's kind of got like a 3-stage trigger, which is pretty cool. And you look down in here, pull this little part out, and this thing is completely disassembled. Now to put this thing back together, you just reverse all the steps. Put this piece back in. You're going to take this part right here, You're going to put this part in. Then you're going to take your trigger. You're going to put this back piece in there, that in there. Don't forget about your spring. You're going to want to lift this part out so you can get that into that little hole there. Slide it all down in there at once, just like that. Then you're going to push that down in there till those holes line up. And you can put your pin back in. Okay, once you got it almost all the way in, just give it a few little taps to get it all the way set in there. There, now it's all back together. Make sure all this stuff works here. Yep. Okay, then you're going to take it. You're going to take your barrel. You're going to put the trigger in first. Drop the barrel in there, just like that. I'm going to switch over to a farther view. You're going to flip it over on its top. You're going to take the magazine and the trigger guard here. You're going to put the trigger through that little slot. Make sure these holes line up. Long screw in the back because it goes all the way through. Might have to push it through. Put this screw in the front. Screw these two screws back in. Sorry if this is a long video, guys. Get that one nice and tight. This one might be a little bit tighter to put in because it goes through and actually connects the bottom to the top. I'll show you here in a second. This rear screw here goes all the way through. You can see the tip of it right there. Then if you want, okay, now I'm going to go back to, well, I'll put the rest of the gun back together before I go to closer view. Okay, so you're going to want to take this part here. You're going to want to make sure which side you got it on. You're going to want this big side. See how this hole is bigger than this side? You're going to want the big hole on the side that the sling goes. Grab this piece of wood here. Remember to be careful with that piece of veneer if you have one on yours. Slide it through like that. Kind of hold it together. Slide it over the tip of your barrel here. And right on back. Until it gets there, you just leave it on just like that. Grab your sling attachment here. I usually leave that to last so that I can maneuver the gun around without the sling getting in the way. So I'll just leave it just like that. Take this tip. You're going to slide that over the barrel. Put that back just like that. Roll it over. You're going to take your two screws. You're going to drop those down in there. And you're going to screw those back in. Make sure that they're tight, not too tight. You don't want to crush the wood, but tight enough to where they're not going to rattle loose when you're shooting. And so that's that. Go back here. Take the rear of the sling. You're going to want to lay it down in there. Get your little barbell. Make sure that those recesses are up. Fit that in there just like that. Just like that. Replace your two screws here. Make sure that they thread in just the way they were in there, otherwise you might mess up the screws. I always make sure that I keep track of which screw went in which hole so that I don't, even though they're both the same screw, threads might be slightly different and you know, it just might be a little bit different. So once that's on there, You're going to go up to your front here, make sure that's lined up. You're going to want to take your screw here, put it through the other side, hold it with your finger here. You're going to hold this sling attachment on there and screw the screw into the sling attachment, not the other way around. Otherwise your sling will be all twisted. Pretty sure this is the original sling because there's no way of getting it off of this loop, and it perfectly fits the groove on the back here. Alright, now we'll put that aside. I'm going to switch to a closer view. Right, you got your bolt here. You're going to take your firing pin first. You're going to put that down in there. Take your spring, put it around the firing pin down in there. Then your safety, you're going to want to find that little knob right there, little nubby sticking out. It's going to want to go into that little hole right there, and it's going to go down inside here and come out the side and be inside this groove. And you're going to want to push it all the way down to where it's down into there. And sometimes it might be a little bit hard because there's a lot of tension on the spring. Make sure your hand's not in the way of that hole so the firing pin can come all the way through. Okay, see there, now it's clicked in there. You're going to push it all the way down so it's all the way down like that. Then you're going to want to find that flat part of the firing pin here. You're going to turn that so that it's facing the knurling part of the safety. You're going to take this part right here, you're going to put that on. It goes down to the side just like that. If you look at it, this part should be lined up with that groove on the bottom of the bolt. Then you're going to take your cap, you're going to screw that back on till you get to that little button, go around and keep going until it is all the way as tight as it'll go. Then you're going to want to pull the bolt and twist it. If you're looking at it this way, twist it clockwise so that it's elongated like that. Then you're going to grab your rifle. Okay, now to get your bolt back in, you would think that it goes this way or something because there's two nubs at the front, but it doesn't. It goes like that. Pull the trigger, slide it back in there, give it a function check. Okay, it works. And there you have it. I'll show you guys some close-up pics and close-up pictures of all of the little marks on it, all the proof marks and stuff. And thank you all for watching.